Hey, it's Amethyst Virgo. I'm going to dive into a conversation around if you are a Virgo rising, right, of any sun sign, what is the likely relationship you'll have with people? And I'm going to use the sign on the cusp of each house to frame this video. So firstly, I want to remind everyone that when I'm doing tutorials or I'm doing any types of teaching, typically I am going to be using whole signs. When I do personal readings, and even for my own chart, I do placidus, okay? So just want to keep that in reference, because if you have interceptions in your chart, and I do have a video about interceptions, I'll try to link them here. So interceptions are basically when, because of the calculations of your birth chart, it is not in a natural order. So for example, a person could have, for example, you could have Virgo first house, Virgo second house, Libra third house cusp, Scorpio on the cusp of the fourth house, but Sagittarius is intercepted. Now, Sagittarius is intercepted in the fourth. That means Gemini is intercepted in the 10th. Remember, it's like whatever happens on one side has to happen to the other when we're talking about cusps, right? And so that's one example. There could be others. They had Libra and Aries intercepting. Libra was intercepting their 5th house, and Aries was intercepting their 11th house, which means neither sign ruled that cusp, which means neither planet rules a cusp in this person's chart. So that means Venus and Mars are not as active in the chart. So again, I do have a video I talk a little more about that. I just wanted to frame. So if you have an interception, this video I'm focusing more so on whole signs. So don't be surprised if that happens, okay? So what I want to share when we're looking at this is the relationships that you're going to have with people are vastly determined by the energy in the birth chart. It is not going to be based on who you think you like or who you think you don't like. Sometimes it's a problem with astrology is people, is that people sometimes want to cast the shadow over a whole zodiac sign. They're like, all Virgos are like this, all Capricorns are like this, all Aquarius are like this, all Geminis, all. But really, it is more so your own energy in the chart. People are going to rub you the right way or the wrong way based on what's already set up in your birth chart. It is not any stretch where we're going to basically say every single sign, every person of a sign, we're going to demonize them. So again, we're thinking of the rising sign and the order of your chart in order to understand people. So for example, if you're a Virgo rising, you're Virgo in the first house. Now, sometimes you can have people who have Virgo rising, but they have Libra, a planet in Libra in the first house. But I'm going to talk just about what is on the cusp. So if we look at what's on the cusp, Virgo is the rising, which means we're dealing with Mercury. People who have Virgo on the cusp of the first house, Virgo risings, people who are Virgos will have an impact on your identity. People who are Virgos can impact you with their words. You will hang on to those words. Those people may be influential. Now, it doesn't always have to be positive. You can have Virgo risings, even Virgo suns who don't get along with certain Virgos. It is a myth that you're going to get along with someone just because they're the same sign as you, just because they are the same, element as you. All earth signs don't get along, right? Every Capricorn is not going to love every Virgo or every Taurus and vice versa. So just to keep that in mind. So first house means these people might help your identity. So maybe your parent is a Virgo, your parent was a Virgo rising. Your parent might help you form your identity, help you stand up for yourself, give you that motivation verbally, right? Those types of concepts, the idea of building self-esteem, self-awareness, right? At this point in my life, if something isn't right, I'm pretty vocal. But when I was younger, I was a little bit more shy and hesitant. My mom, who was a Virgo, used to always say, you better learn to speak up. You better learn to speak up. And sometimes I would watch her in situations speak up for herself, or situations have to use her words to really help communicate something and just like really advocate for herself. So if you have any Virgo, the Virgo rising energy of Virgo is going to be these people influence you in some way, shape, or form. These people you might even be inspired by some Virgos because you might not be the most orderly person. This myth that every single Virgo is a neat freak. No, I think Moon and Virgos are actually way neater than Virgo suns. And Virgo rising, that's the instinct. right? It's not, Virgo rising is not the Virgo sun or the moon. So the rising is more so the way in which you're approaching life. Remember, it's on the first house cusp. So that's the way I describe it. So it also can be these people they're really, you look at them in terms of like they help you see how to organize life or how to go through things and how to better yourself in some way, shape, or form. If Virgo's on the cusp of your second house, no, Libra's on the cusp of your second house. Libra individuals, people with Libra energy, there's something tied to money. These people may motivate you to make more money. These people may motivate you. They may help you with your value. They may know your value. A Libra person may help you get a job. A Libra person might say, that's not fair. They're not giving you a raise. You need to really talk to them about that, right? Libra energy can help you if you have a Libra child. That Libra child might be the motivation for you to make money. Your Libra child or Libra relative might be a person who asks a lot for money or needs something from you in some shape or form. So it's really important to understand like the way in which it's going to show up is going to be different. So the goal with this video is not to tell you exactly what the relationship is going to be like. It's to give you the themes of it and the topics, and you need to then apply it to the relationships that you have in your life. So Libra people, as they show up in the second house, there's something with money, whether there's a fairness, whether there's this dependency of money, or they're able to see your value. They're able to see what you're worth. So if you've Scorpio on the cusp of your third house, Scorpio people, sometimes Scorpio energy can feel like a mystical to you, or they can feel very complexing, very confusing. There might be things that you have to figure out a lot about them, especially remember the third house can also, when we're talking about people, it represents our siblings. It can represent cousins as well. So it can sometimes mean like having a complex relationship with siblings, having a situation where you're always trying to figure something out about them, not having a very candid type of relationship, always feeling like there's something left to be undiscovered. But also you benefit from being around people who do make you think. You're able to, we're talking about Virgo energy and Scorpio. Let's say you have Virgo placements, not just maybe just the rising, but then you have Scorpio placements in the house. If those signs sextile, that promotes that opportunity. Virgo and Scorpio energy in a chart can certainly represent a person who is good at deciphering things, getting information, looking deep, thinking deeply. So it also can be these people make you think. Scorpio people provoke thought in you, whether it's you're trying to figure them out or you're trying to figure something out. So that's the way in which these people can show up. Even in terms of someone you learning from a Scorpio person. Remember, the third house represents schooling in the early age. So it's like your ability to learn from these people can be something that is emphasized a lot in terms of your relationship with them. Sagittarius, fourth house. Now remember, the fourth house, we're dealing with emotions. We're dealing with home. We're dealing with where we come from. So when Sag is here, it can sometimes mean a person who emotionally provided support in terms of your ability to expand. Someone who always required you or appreciated that you were willing to expand past your current situation. A family member who's not trying to keep you locked into the old ways of things. Somebody in your life who is inspirational, someone in your life who is wise, someone in your life who motivates you. So when Sagittarius ends up in your fourth house, Sagittarius energy people motivate you to do things you might not have done before. They understand how, and it hits you emotionally. It's not that Sagittarius can end up in someone else's chart just telling somebody, hey, let's go on this excursion, let's go do this. But no, when Sag ends up in your fourth house, it's people that are motivating you because they care about you, right? And again, doesn't mean every single Sagittarius person you meet is going to be this champion, but there's a connection there. Or these Sagittarius people appreciate you. I've seen that before. When Sag, you have Sag in your fourth house, people appreciate you. So even when you do something for them, they remember it for a long time. It's more of an impact that you're causing emotionally and creating that connection. Capricorn in the fifth house. So Capricorn's over the fifth house cusp. So now we're dealing with the fact of there is something here with these individuals. Sometimes it's very interesting where sometimes I see Capricorn people, you kind of try to break free from their structure. I know this sounds weird because we're not talking about Uranus right now, but what I've seen with the fifth house is that, one, remember, with astrology, there's many layers to astrology, meaning your birth chart is going to be the most exact understanding of yourself. But I'm not talking right now about in the fifth house. You might say, but what the fifth house are about children? Yes. So the fifth house sometimes can represent the children you have, the types of children you have. What are they like? I've seen before that whatever's on the cusp of your fifth house, look and see if your child has a sign, a planet in that sign. That is very common. So that's going to stand out for what type of child this is. It could be a child who, there could be a child that is in some way, shape, or form very independent, very goal driven. Or you can have a child where they're very limited in emotional reaction. You can have a child that needs a lot of discipline or needs a lot of structure, right? You have Capricorn on the cusp of your fifth house. Again, everyone doesn't have children, but that's sometimes things that can happen. It also can represent the type of parent you are. I've done videos on that. That's not what this video is about. Talking about the people in your life based on what is on the cusp, what energy is there. Of course, if you want to go deeper, which astrology can always go deeper, you need to then analyze now the planet that rules it. What house is that in? You then would need to look at, are there planets in that house? Everything in astrology adds layers to it. It's not, well, now I'm confused because Capricorn's on the cusp of my fifth house, but then I have Aquarius, a sign of Aquarius there. That is if you're using Placidus. Those of us who use Placidus know sometimes two signs can be in the same house, right? And there always got to be the neighboring one. That only works if the degrees match up. This is not the case in everybody's chart. Some people's charts are completely clean and they don't have more than one sign in the house. And some people, it may only occur in one house. But again, if you're using whole signs, that's never going to happen. Whole signs, the only signs that can show up are the signs on that cusp. So if you have Gemini on the cusp of the fifth house, no other sign can show up but Gemini. Cancer cannot show up. Cancer cannot show up, right? But if you're using Placidus, it depends on the degrees it could show up. Preference, everyone does it a little bit differently. But Capricorn here, sometimes though, I think Virgo rising and Capricorn energy, it's like, remember, Virgo's always going to be looking at things from the way of like, yes, accuracy, but Virgo's more apt to change because Virgo's a mutable earth sign. And so sometimes Capricorn people can motivate the Virgo. The Virgo you'll follow their direction, you'll follow their rules, but you're always going to kind of do it your own way. You're probably going to view it as more like, well, I don't agree with it this way. Let me do enough just to do what they're saying. But Virgo's going to try to find a different way to do it because remember, we're dealing with mutable energy. So I have seen that before where like Virgo and Capricorn, they're both earth signs. They both care about, the structure of things, the order of things for different reasons, of course. Virgo, the order of things because it needs to be accurate. Capricorn, because it's about the system. Don't break the chain. But I have seen sometimes Virgo energy kind of not rebel, but a little bit like push back against Capricorn, but not in a very verbal way, but in a way of methodology. Like, well, I'm just going to do things the way I want to do it then. So that sometimes can show up. But, I think Capricorn people also show up. They understand your disposition as well. You've Capricorn the cusp of the fifth house. Unless you have a really pronounced Jupiter or Sun conjunct Jupiter or something like that, you might not be the most expressive person in the world. And you're also a Virgo rising. So unless you have like a really exuberant sun, like maybe your sun in Aries 5th degree, or, conjunct Mercury, maybe you're just that exuberant. If you don't have placements that show you're very exuberant or very open, you can sometimes come off as like you don't have fun. But Capricorn people aren't over the top either. So Capricorn people sometimes understand you. They're not trying to push you to like, let's go dance. If you're somewhere, you're like, nah, I'm good. Capricorn people, the way they show up in the lives of Virgo people, they don't tend to try to push you to be something you're not, which is good. All right, Aquarius. So now we have Aquarius in the cusp of the sixth house. Aquarius people tend to understand doing things your own way. So where it says Capricorn sometimes and Virgo, though they're both earth signs and both they can work really well together, sometimes there could be a little bit of tension because Virgo is willing to change things around if they found a new way to problem solve. Capricorn might be like, well, let's try it this way first. Let's do it the way it's been done because I know this can be successful, right? You're trying to change things, Virgo. What are you doing that for? But with Aquarius in the cusp of your sixth house of daily life, all those new practices be considered aunts and uncles for some people. So it can also represent your extended family, the people that show up, having a lot of extended family. If you have sixth house placements, there's a lot of people. Now, sixth house tip, though, in the way of modern astrology, we look at it, of course, it is daily tasks, it is health, it is work, it is the things we do every day. But when Aquarius shows up here, people that have Aquarius, they make you they don't really hold it against you if you do things your own way. They understand you being a unique individual. They tend to not put a lot of pressure on you. Virgo rising, Virgo sun, the Virgo energy people, Aquarius people are rarely the people in your life that put a lot of pressure on you. It's rarely going to be them. You're typically not going to have too much experience with Aquarius again, unless there are other things in your birth chart representing that you will, right? Because there could be someone with Mars and Aquarius in the 10th house, and there could be issues with career or authority figures. But with Aquarius being on the 6th house cusp, these people come into your life, and these people are very much like fascinated sometimes by the way you do things. They can be inspired by the way in which you approach daily tasks and things like that. Because remember, Aquarius energy is willing to revamp. Let's revamp it. Let's change this all up. And so when you have Virgo rising, though Virgo likes to check the facts first before changing anything, you're going to see that these people tend to be more open to that. So you can sometimes feel less pressure. You could feel, this level of, oh, this Aquarius boss is kind of going to, like, they understand me. They're going to let me do what I need to do. Because Aquarius in the cusp of the 6th house, especially if you're a planet there, it's going to be even more pronounced. That energy can be really good. The energy can be really good in terms of how you problem solve, right? And if Aquarius can see a smart solution, right, that works, they sometimes praise that. They sometimes respect that. Pisces on the cusp of your 7th house. Now, again, to go more in depth, you would want to look at my Descendant video where I talk a little bit more about this. Well, I talk a lot more about this. But Pisces on the cusp of your 7th house, these people, you have strong relations with people with Pisces energy. You are different than them, but you'll understand them in a way that transcends somebody's designated role in your life. You know how some people in your life, they have this designated responsibility, person who works for their father. They might be like, oh yeah, I work for my father. And that's a role that you're assigned. But with Pisces energy, it is about a more connectivity. It is about people who may come into your life for a reason. People with Pisces energy, support you. So, Virgo gets, people always expect things from Virgo because you tend to be on time and you tend to be on task and you tend to always follow through. But Pisces is not, similar, Aquarius is not pressuring you, usually, unless like they think their idea is better. Pisces is not demanding anything of you. Pisces just wants you to be your authentic self. So a lot of times Pisces people, they just want you to be yourself. You don't have to come with the ego or bravado or, oh, I got to come be the most exciting person. It is, again, it's your opposite sign. So in a way, it promotes this very unique opportunity for you to calm down. These people let you rest. These people are not on your back. Well, did you do this for grandma? Did you do this for so-and-so? Pisces might even check in with you first. Hey, I went to the art show this weekend and I saw this thing you were talking about. Whereas a non-Pisces person may come up to a Virgo at work Monday morning. Hey, did you get those reports? Right? Because it's not right. And Virgo is good at reports. Virgo is good at analysis. Virgo is good at data. But what'll happen is you don't always want to hear that. But because that's how people view you, that's what sometimes can happen. So it's very important for Virgo to, Pisces people, I know they work very differently than you, and sometimes they can get on your nerves and you can get on their nerves, but that is that they can kind of inspire you in that way. 8th house. So 8th house, we're talking about Aries. If you have an 8th house Aries people are going to draw the most intense emotions out of you that you didn't even know you had. Aries people, it can be good or bad, but you're going to have an intense reaction to Aries energy. You're going to have hidden, unresolved issues with Aries energy. Now, whether that goes back to your childhood, whether that goes back to a family member, whether it goes back to an ex-partner, whatever the case may be, Aries is going to evoke the strongest emotions. And it can sometimes be positive. You could be a Virgo rising and you have an Aries child or something like that. But it also can be something where it's like, you're a Virgo person and you have an Aries mother or an Aries father, and there's unresolved issues there. And people that remind you of your mother or father trigger you. People that have Aries traits might trigger you because, you have there's something there to it. So when Virgo risings with that, is going to hold houses, everybody would have Aries in the cusp of the 8th house. These people are going to really, but it's not obvious sometimes. It can sometimes be you avoid them. You have an aversion to it, but underneath it all, we understand more why that is. right? You understand more what it, you know, you can learn a lot from Aries people. They're so different than you. I think the only thing Virgo and Aries have in common sometimes is both the ability to be independent, right? But at the same time, very different reasons why, of course. So that's what the situation is with that. Taurus on the ninth house cusp. Now, Taurus energy, Taurus people, they're going to challenge your belief system. They can challenge or support your belief systems. So sometimes you can find yourself with Taurus people talking philosophy, talking about life, talking about things that are going to be, that build up a sense of understanding your, your understandings of life and things of that nature. You can talk about a lot of lofty things. You get caught up. Virgo can be dealing with the minute and detail-oriented stuff. You really, unless you're in a work environment where you have to do this, or you're like trying to resolve something with customer service, Virgo and Taurus energy, like you're gonna eventually usually end up talking very big picture, because like that, you appreciate that, because Taurus energy is, you're gonna feel drawn to talk about things to them. Now, sometimes here's the flip of that. And again, it's all gonna depend on other dynamics in the chart and the synastry between you and another person. Taurus can also challenge your beliefs. Taurus can also challenge your message. Sometimes Taurus can feel, right? Because we're talking about message, we're talking about beliefs. And if there's any oppositions or anything in the chart that can represent that, sometimes Taurus people can rub you the wrong way, where it is, you feel like there's an affront to your belief system, where they're thinking of it too cavalier. They're thinking of things too straightforward. And you as a Virgo rising are like, wait a minute, I'm ruled by my planetary ruler of my chart is Mercury. Even double if you're a Virgo rising, Virgo sun, or you're a Virgo rising, Virgo moon, or anything like that, right? And so sometimes Taurus energy can test your faith. People can test you. They can question you, question your belief systems, question your morals, question you in that way, right? And so that sometimes can happen. Again, it's all going to depend on the person. So if this sounds vague, it's not that I'm trying to be vague. It's that literally analyzing your birth chart. And then if we're talking about true relationships with people, we would have to really look at two charts together and understand how those people influence each other, good or bad. Gemini on the cusp of the 10th house, these people are going to motivate you in career, your goals, right? Virgo and Gemini are square signs, but that doesn't mean they don't get along. It simply means that there's a very different way in which they move, okay? That's, square doesn't always mean some kind of, long-term rivalry, horrible battle. But Gemini energy in your 10th house, they're going to be influential to your career or your goals in some way. Geminis might give you ideas. They might give you, motivation. Geminis, remember I said Virgo on the cusp of your first house helps you with identity, motivating who you are. Virgo people, right? If you're Virgo rising, because Virgo's first house. Now, but if we're talking about, Gemini in the 10th house, Gemini people will come in and out of your career or be there for a long time. You're going to always, I find myself, I'm always around a Gemini. In my career, I'm always around an influential Gemini by that. It's not just random Gemini people I directly have to work with, that I directly collaborate with. And so I have found that Gemini people are people that I have, in terms of career specifically, benefited from their praise, their guidance, their suggestions, their ideas, their acknowledgement of my work has been something I've noticed throughout this. And I'm not saying it has to always look that way for each person, but it's like, even if you're someone, your Gemini brother is always like the one person in your family that's like, it's okay if you want to change jobs, you can do this. Or somebody that a partner maybe even, is the one who is always like in your corner. Now you can sometimes have difference of opinion with Gemini though. So that also could sometimes happen in the 10th house. If you have a Gemini in your life in that regard, there's going to be times where y'all have a very different way in which you view things. So there's sometimes can be tension. But for the most part, I've seen it be more positive than it is tension. Cancer on the cusp of the 11th house. You benefit from social circles of people who are very much connected to you, or you're connected to the same thing you're trying to nurture. So if y'all are part of an organization, y'all both really love that organization. Sometimes Cancer energy, it also could be like women are very important. Female figures are important in terms of your social circles, or belonging to organizations that deal with issues that relate to women or femininity or something to that regard. Doesn't mean everybody's necessarily in a feminist group, and that's not what I'm saying. But you benefit from those types of unions or relationships. But also at the same time, in general, if we don't even want to talk about it in that regard, is that you're the people who you're friends with can be people from your past. You're going to have quite a few people that you, no matter what, you can go right back to talking to them. You haven't talked in 2 years, right? Your benefit because of that long-term connection piece, even stronger if you have any placements in Cancer in your chart, or any placements maybe in the 4th house or 3rd house, because people from your neighborhood, people from your past, those folks will show up in terms of always being someone that's there. You also benefit from being around people who are open and people who motivate you in ways in which they care about where the direction you're going in. So being around friends, associates who aren't just there just because to be there, but people who you both have a shared vested interest in things. That's why I remember Cancer is related to things that are relatable, people who are relatable, people who are like us, people from the same background as us in some way, shape, or form. So you do benefit from having people around you that have a similar way in which they're connected. If you're talking about spirituality, even that, you might benefit, if you are a spiritual person, you benefit from having connections with people who are also interested in spiritual topics. Leo, 12th house cusp. These people tend to come in your life, and in some way, they help shape your purpose. Sound very deep. That might sound very, and you might be like, oh no, I have a bad story with a Leo. Leos, the way in which a Leo impacts you is based on your trajectory. The Leos who step in your life are there, and in a way, they're kind of like checkpoints for if you're on the right path. Because it's almost like they don't have to be spiritual themselves, but it's like their presence helps you understand the direction that you're on. But Leo people also show you the importance of showcasing yourself. They might push you out there a little bit more, because that's what they don't get it. They might not know. If this is a good intentioned person, not everybody's a good person. We know that. It doesn't matter the sign. Not everybody's a good person. If it's a well-intentioned person, they might not even be spiritual, but the way they're vibrating is, again, we're all part of this collective consciousness. We're all part of an energy wave. They see or sense your purpose, or they see or sense what you're good at. But 12th house can stay hidden. I don't want to do that. No, I'm staying behind the shadows. So sometimes they might push you into the limelight. They might push you like, no, you're good at this. You're going to show people. So Leo people can be great in terms of helping you showcase your talent, helping you showcase what you're good at, helping you understand, helping you on your journey. But again, it's not just it could, yes, it could be something about relationships or money or achievements, but it's really about your journey, your spiritual journey here, the things you are meant to do, the places you are meant to go to. Sometimes a Leo will be a sign of that. You can go back and be like, wow, this Leo person really introduced me to this, or this Leo person had faith in me. This Leo person believed in me, even though I didn't know I was good at that. Leos can help you uncover your talents. You're Leo on the cusp of 12th house. The 12th house can be hidden. And people with Virgo risings are usually here in this earth to be humble, because maybe you weren't in a past life. So you're learning humility as this new soul. Your soul is old, but as this new person, this new human on earth, right? But Leo energy helps you in that regard. Now, Leos don't get me wrong, they can get on your nerves. Because sometimes you might feel pressured by the Leo. Like, what? I don't want to do that. You're telling me I got to do this, but it's really because they see what you're capable of, and if you are aligned, all of what I'm saying, if we are truly aligned with our path and our purpose, we're going to meet the right people, and those people are going to be factors in helping confirm what we already know. Just like we're a part of confirming other people's talents and purpose, right? We are a part of that. They'll be a part of that as well. And again, it doesn't mean perfection. None of what I'm saying means these people are perfect, right? Because again, Virgo and Leo are very different energies. You can have a little bit of tension of how you do things, right? That happens. But in general, if it's a positive intention individual, you tend to sometimes have those situations where you look back and like, wow, that person did push me to be my best self.